Hello everyone, welcome to Pocket Japan. You've come to the right place to learn Japanese the right way, and welcome to the second lesson, to part 2 of my adjective lessons. If you haven't seen part 1, then please check it out first, because it contains some crucial information that you might need for this one. And let's first do a little recap. In the first part, I showed you that there are two main kinds of adjectives, namely I-adjectives and Na-adjectives. These two have vastly different ways of conjugating. And although I showed you how to use these adjectives at the end of a sentence, as in, 彼女は綺麗です。Tanaka-san wa kanashikatta desu. 彼女は綺麗です means the girl is pretty, and Tanaka-san wa kanashikatta desu means Mr. Tanaka was sad. Says, I have showed you how to do this, but I haven't gotten into how to put adjectives in front of the noun it's describing, as in the English sentence or phrase, the beautiful girl, or the quiet students. That is what we'll be doing in this lesson, in part 2. Using adjectives in front of the noun, it's modifying. I will again make the distinction between I and Na-adjectives and explain them separately, so let's get started with the I-adjectives. Concerning I-adjectives, their conjugation doesn't really change much compared to when you use them at the end of the sentence, like in the previous grammar lesson, but there is one general rule to remember for both I and Na-adjectives, and that is that you cannot use the polite des must form in front of a noun. You can do it when you put the noun at the end of the sentence, but you cannot do it when it's in front of a noun. Doing so is grammatically incorrect. You use the more informal short form whenever putting an adjective in front of a noun. So how to do this for I-adjectives would be as follows. So take the adjective omoshiroi, which means interesting, and we're gonna use the meishi, or the noun hon, which means book, so an interesting book. Present affirmative would be just the adjective with its I at the end, so the hiragana I included, plus the noun. So that would be omoshiroi hon. When you put that in the negative present, then you take the stem of the adjective, so you have the adjective and you cut off the I at the end, and instead of the I, you add kunai in hiragana, and then you add the noun. So that would be, from the adjective omoshiroi, it would become omoshirokunai hon. The past affirmative is similarly the stem, so adjective minus the I at the end, and you put katta, followed by the noun. So you have stem plus katta plus noun, omoshirokatta hon. And lastly, if you put it in the past negative, then you get the stem plus kunakatta plus the noun, so omoshirokunakatta hon. Although the conjugation is very straightforward, I would advise you from using the past tense adjective in front of a noun like this, like the last two examples I gave you. Although it's not grammatically incorrect, it's not often used in everyday Japanese, so instead of saying, これは面白くなかった本です, this is a book that wasn't interesting, you should opt for rephrasing this into, これは面白い本じゃなかった. This was not an interesting book. So you usually just pick the present affirmative, so the regular adjective, and then you put it in its negative by conjugating the copula at the end. In this case, that would be des. That's probably more natural and much easier for you to do, so you don't have to use the complicated structures as in past negative, etc. too much. You don't have to worry about that. Furthermore, as I said earlier, you always have to use the short form of the adjective in front of a noun, and everything on the left-hand column, for example, would be correct. 寒い日 面白くない本 悲しかった男 Although these are all correct, their polite counterpart on the right would be totally wrong. 寒いです日面白くありません本悲しくありませんでした男 For one, it's way too long, so it's quite difficult to pronounce, and two, it's just grammatically incorrect, so always use the short form. Now on to the Na-adjectives. These are even easier than I-adjectives, as you just put hiragana na between the adjective and the noun in the present affirmative tense. So the conjugation would be, well, conjugation, I guess. So using them in front of a noun would have the following implications. Present affirmative, that would just be the adjective followed by hiragana na plus the noun. So you would get something like 真面目な学生, a serious student. 真面目 is the adjective, na is what you put between the noun and the adjective, and then followed by the noun, 学生, which means student, a serious student. And then the present negative would be the adjective plus janai, or denai, followed by the noun. I usually put denai because it sounds better in my opinion, but you can just have janai. So that would form the structure 真面目じゃない学生, or 真面目でない学生, the non-serious student, or the student who is not serious, basically. Onwards to the past affirmative is also quite easy. It's just des, or the verb, the copula da in its past tense. So you would have the adjective followed by datta, followed by the noun. That would make 真面目だった学生, the student who was serious. And lastly, again, quite logically, it's for the past negative, you would get the adjective plus じゃなかった or でなかった plus the noun. So that would become 真面目じゃなかった学生 or 真面目でなかった学生. There we go. Again, the same point stands that you should avoid unnecessarily complicated structures like 彼女は真面目だった学生です. She's a student who was serious. Or 彼女は真面目じゃない学生です. She is a non-serious student, or she's a student who is not serious. You should not use these structures, but you should opt for using just the affirmative adjective and conjugate the verb at the end. So that would become 彼女は真面目な学生でした or 彼女は真面目な学生じゃない. Also, again, you never use the des form. You never use the polite form in front of nouns. So what would be incorrect? So the phrase a language that you're not good at, that would be 上手ではありません言語. That would be completely incorrect. Instead, you would say 上手じゃない言語. And that's all there is to the adjectives. Now you know both how to use them at the end of a sentence and as a modifier in front of a noun. If you have any further questions, do not hesitate, just hit me up in the comments, and at this point I'm definitely replying to everyone. It's not like I'm getting that many comments. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I'm looking forward to making the next lesson. I still don't know what it's going to be about, but it's going to be interesting nonetheless. Please remember to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment if you want to support the channel, and that's all you need to do, just a click or two would really help me out. And thank you very much for watching. See you guys around.